Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Israeli Jazz Saxophonist, composer, and bandleader Eli Degibri. His latest project is the new 2022 CD Henri Rachel, and it's his first album of original music since 2015. On his self-released ninth album, it was recorded on March 9th, 2020, days before the onset of the COVID pandemic. The album is titled for his parents as he spins an intimate and passionate love story portraying the personalities and idiosyncrasies of his tight-knit family. Over the years, he's been a huge part of the jazz scene and has played and learned from legends like Herbie Hancock and Al Foster, along with so many others. In 2016, he was invited to perform at the White House as a guest of President Barack Obama and Michele Obama as a part of a special all-star concert celebrating International Jazz Day. He's got all kinds of great stories. Enjoy the interview. Well, hey, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So this project is very interesting. It looks very, lots of emotions probably went into this for Henri and Rachel. So talk to me a little bit about, this is your first album since 2015. Talk to me a little bit about this project.
I basically didn't know at the time, but when I started working on the project, I was going through some difficult times with my parents and their health. My father was old at the time, but he was always a strong man, and I never even thought about him that he can be ill. He was 90 years old, was diagnosed with cancer. And just a year before, my mom was diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer. So everything was just, and I'm an only child, and I'm very connected, fond of my parents, and I was just there for them, and we were all together trying to figure it out, and at the same time I was also doing music like I always do, and I wrote and I composed, and when I was looking back at all the compositions from that period, I realized that they all have something to do with everything that went on with my parents and myself. And the title track, for example, Henri and Rachel, is something that I didn't realize at the time. Again, I didn't have a title for it, but like I was listening to it after I composed it, and I realized that it was the same melody, just in repeat in a different key. So the first melody is in the key of D, and then the second melody is in the key of E. And it was clear to me that it's a love song of like two keys, and the lower key is my dad, and the higher one is my mom. So I thought about Henri and Rachel. That's their names.
Talk to me a little bit about the entire story of the album from start to finish. It's almost like you're weaving together a love story, kind of maybe what exactly went into the entire story of this album?
The story is trying to tell the love and affection that I have to my parents, that they have to me, and they have to each other, and people that surround me during this difficult time. For example, one of my parents, and especially my father, most precious, or like his wish for me was, for example, to get married, and for a long time I just didn't want to. I didn't get to that, and when he was so ill, and I was in a relationship with my who now my fiancée, I realized that I have to, fulfill this wish for him as well. And I even imagined that, the track that is going to be played in my wedding. I called that track. You can look it up in the recording. It's called "The Wedding," and it comes right after Noah. So who is my fiancé? And when I did the show, even though the recording wasn't out there, I realized that my dad doesn't have a lot of time, so I made that Henri and Rachel show especially for him. And this is where I also proposed. I was trying to do a lot of things to both give back to my dad and to honor his legacy and his love. And so you can see in the recording that a lot of the tracks have something to do with him. For example, Don Quixote is a portrait of him. Gargamel, which is a character from the Smurfs. It's a evil character, but I always found it when I was young like a funny character, and every time I look at my father's silhouette, I think of him, and I see Gargamel. And of course, Noah, who's my fiancé, who we loved so much, and my best friend, Ziv. So everything is connected to this harsh and rough 2 years.
The interesting thing is you recorded this on March 9th of 2020, and now it's coming out, around 2 years later. And the world is getting into a better shape with COVID. Does it feel relieving to have it come out now with the chance to perform live and really kind of promote it the way that it should be promoted?
Absolutely. I think that's probably one of the main reasons why I took so long to put it out there, because I wanted that people to hear it and to be able to play it live for audiences. What's interesting is that usually, like you said, once you record it, it comes out, you perform, and it's very, close to the recording date. But my process is usually when I write songs, I bring them to the band, and we play the music. Even during a show that is connected to a different project, I like to play the music before I record it in front of audience. A lot of times when I get to promote the project or the CD, I kind of have had enough with the music because I already played it many, many times. But in this case, it's not the case. I haven't played the music live, and other than that one time for my dad. So I'm really, really excited and happy and looking forward to play the music live.
So let's go back in your life here. Talk to me a little bit about how you got involved with jazz. How did this begin for you, this journey?
Music started at a very, very early age. 3. My parents signed me in for like a violin lesson. There was a special Japanese system for babies, for toddlers. And I remember, I don't remember a lot, but I remember that I really, really loved holding the instrument, the violin. It had a smell that I liked. It had a grip that I enjoyed, and so I think my love for music in general was already at 3 years old. But jazz came into my life when I was 10 years old. I was playing the mandolin, and there was a Dixieland band playing in one of the rehearsal rooms in the conservatory. And when I just stumbled into the rehearsal, I saw the musicians. They were dressed very shiny, like a magician, and they looked to me like magicians. And for a young kid, magician is very appealing. And in my imagination, they improvised. I thought that just like a magician, they are flying notes or doves out of their sleeves. And I ran in to my teacher and I said, I want to be a magician. I want to know how to do this magic. And he was laughing. But yeah, the first time I heard improvisation, I knew that this is what I want to do, what I want to learn to do.
So you've obviously taken off in wonderful ways as a musician, and you've had the chance to play and learn from the likes of Herbie Hancock and Al Foster, and I'm curious, what did you learn from them that you in turn teach younger players that you get around?
Wow, so many, so much stuff. It's I'm going to try to think about a couple that are important to me, or that I can at least think of right now. And also, it's really interesting because you mentioned Herbie and Al, but they both are so different in the way they hear and talk about music and also teach it. So, for example, with Al, it was I would say tough love. He was very supporting, but at the same time, if something that I did musically, I'm talking about music, was not to his liking, he would tell me about it, and sometimes it would have been very, very harsh the way he criticized my music. But even though it was very difficult at the time, not too long after, I realized that I am becoming a better musician because of that. So the fact that he wasn't, accepting everything that I did and just telling me that I'm great all the time was good. It made me a better player because I wanted to grow and to become better for him. With Herbie, it was different. Herbie is very, very accepting. I always felt like I could do anything, and I can do and make as many mistakes as I can make. And trust me, I made a lot of mistakes, and that he will be there to catch me. And this is another great lesson to learn because I guess when I, today, for the more than 20 years now that I've been leading bands, I feel that I have this combination in me when I come to talk with my band and to try to advise them or to make the music or my music sound better in the band. So I guess I have these two ways of talking to them. One is, making sure that they understand that I am there for them, and anything that they're going to do, I'm going to be able to catch it. And even if it's a mistake, so-called mistake, I will be there for them, again, musically speaking, and make sure that it will, whatever they do, it will sound good. I will try to make it sound good, even if it's not necessarily the prettiest thing they play. But at the same time, after the show, I will always make sure to tell them, even if it's sometimes a little rough, what I don't like and how they can make it better.
What do you like the best about being a professional musician? What do you look forward to every day being a creator of music? When you were asking the question just now, it sounded very, very serious, and it is serious. Music is
extremely serious to me. But at the same time, when you think about the word, player or play, it's something, like it sounds very playful. And when I play, I just do something that is very infant, I would say, like very childish. And so, in a way, and you can see it, even Herbie and Al and Ron and all the great players that I've met in my life, they all have a very, very childish or young, youthful side to them, even though they're very serious musicians who practice a lot, and they've been doing great things. They changed the history of music. At the end of the day, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking forward to every day, just to play. And as simple as it sounds, just to, I wake up and I see the piano and it invites me to play on it and to play with it. And the same goes for the saxophone. And this is what I do. I just do it because it gives me a lot of joy to play when I do it. Sometimes, and hopefully many times, I can create beautiful melodies and great harmony, and and of course, if I can, to share it with people, with audiences, and even just with a friend who can play with me. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, and speaking of playing, when you do start playing more, now that the world's kind of waking up and we're on the other end of COVID, what do you hope we all realize about the power of live music? Not only the musician, but the audience when we return and get back to it.
Oh, man. I can answer that by reminiscing on when I came to New York, I guess, 96. The first place I went to was, of course, Smalls Jazz Club. And I remember going, I was young. I was like 17 or 16 years old. I came from Israel, which was still is a small country, but even in the aspect of jazz, these days we have so many jazz musicians from Israel, but back then it wasn't like that. We were like 5 jazz musicians from here, and so I didn't have any experience of like real live jazz, like listening to it. So I came down to the basement of Smalls, and the music just washed me, and it was more than washing. It was like a heavy truck, like riding into my face, almost like running into me. And that was such an amazing experience that really changed my life. It was nothing like what I heard in the recordings. From that moment on, I realized that this effect when I play, when I play with a band, has so much on the listener. And I see it every time I play for live in front of people. I see their faces are changing, their smiles, someone who has not experienced jazz live is just, he can be really, or she can be like so thrilled and shocked. I hope that the people will get to experience it again, and I'm sure they will keep, like always, appreciating it. And we are talking right now through Zoom, but with all due respect, I can't wait to be able to sit down with you, for example, and talk face to face. So. And the same goes for music. It's great to listen to it through computers and headphones or whatever, but there's nothing like experiencing the energy that a good musician, can give you when he plays in front of you live.
Absolutely. So My final question to you is this. Everyone has a perception or an idea of you, your family, your friends, your fans, your students, but ultimately you live your life. You have a perception of yourself. Who do you think you are?
Well, you're not talking about musically, just like as a person?
Well, I think they probably are both interwoven, but yeah, just overall, your overall perception.
Wow, that's a great question, but it's very hard to answer. I guess I'll just think of associations that I have right now. Stubborn would be one. Romantic. Well, at least during this time, since my dad passed away, which was 6 months ago, I feel a little bit like I'm also sad. So I guess this will do for now.
Yeah. Right on, man. Hey, thank you for opening up about the new album, about your life and music. Good luck with everything as we move forward with the album and the live music.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and for taking the time to talk to me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Jerusalem, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.